Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, dear colleagues. As Vice President in charge of the Sakharov community, it is my honor to open this roundtable discussion organized on the occasion of the 2024 Sakharov Prize. Today, we gather to reflect on the need for peace in the Middle East and the role of civil society, especially women, in building that peace. Before we give the floor to our distinguished guests, let me say a few words about the Sakharov Prize itself. The Sakharov Prize is the European Union's highest distinction. It is awarded by the European Parliament and rewards those who work to promote fundamental freedoms and human rights. Since 1988, we have been proud to honor some extraordinary personalities, including Nelson Mandela, Reporters Without Borders, Las Damas de Blanco, Alexei Navalny, and Masha Amini, to name just but a few. To name but a few, of course, but because there are almost 50 winners and as many finalists. The Sakharov Prize is named after Andrei Sakharov, a Soviet physicist, humanist, and tireless defending of human rights, a man of science and conscience. Sakharov's life and work resonate deeply, even 35 years after his passing. Profoundly concerned with the moral and societal implication of his discoveries around nuclear physics, Sakharov became a staunch advocate for democracy, freedom, and human dignity. When the easy choice is to stay silent, he chose to resist injustice in the USSR, risking everything to stand for truth and to stand for humanity. Pascale, Chen, and Reem, Alhajajra, did not choose to stay silent either. They chose to speak their truth. They chose to stand up for peace, freedom, humanity, and women's rights. Today, I have the honor of introducing them and their organization. They represent Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun, but above all the women behind these associations. Pascale Chen is coordinator of Women Wage Peace, and Reem Alhajajra is director of Women of the Sun. Women Wage Peace is an Israeli association, when Women of the Sun is a Palestinian association. In the context of the Middle East, these two associations have been working together since 2021, calling for peace, peaceful coexistence, and a secure future to their children. These women demonstrate that it is possible to build bridges between people despite seemingly insurmountable differences and deep tragedies. They show us what it means to reject despair in favor of hope, to choose dialogue over division, and to demand peace at a time when hatred and violence often dominate. This summer, I had the chance to meet Reem and Yael, founding member of Women Wage Peace, who unfortunately could not be here today. During our conversation, I realized that standing before me were above all two mothers who have found a common and very noble goal, peace. What I found extraordinary in their story is the strength and the courage that has allowed them to put their cause above all, despite tremendous pain. Many of those participating in today's roundtable know this pain personally. They lost a loved one in this conflict. They have experienced loss, grief, and unimaginable suffering. And yet, they have not given up. Along with many others at Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun, they refuse to allow violence to define their future. The shared vision of the two organizations is a peaceful future. A future where everybody has equal rights, a future where everybody is safe. The effort to amplify women's voice, increase women's representation in political and economical spheres, and involve women as agents of peace demonstrate the critical role civil society can play in conflict resolution. As finalists for the Sakharov Prize, Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun embody the very essence of what this award stands for, because there is no better way to protect freedom and human rights than by pleading for peace, because there is no liberty There are no human rights when war is raging. Ladies and gentlemen, this roundtable is more than an exchange. This is an opportunity to amplify the voices of those working tireless for peace. But it's also an opportunity to reaffirm our own commitment to this cause. This is precisely why I felt it was so important to organize this event together with my colleague, Chloe Ridel, after we proposed Women Wage, Peace and Women of the Sun, along with several other colleagues for this year's award. Together, we wanted to ensure that these voices, your stories, your experience, and your pleas would be heard right here in the heart of the European democracy, the European Parliament. The European Parliament where we work every day to uphold the values of freedom, dignity, and peace. And now it's my pleasure to give the floor to Chloe, who will introduce to the other members of this extraordinary panel, as you know, who shows much more than a panel. They share a lot of pain and resilience and wish to make a better world. I know that their insight too will deepen our understanding and strengthen our collective commitment to advancing for peace. Chloe, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Welcome, everybody. I will express myself in French, my language. Bienvenue.
Welcome. It's so emotional to welcome you here for this exceptional conference in the European Parliament in presence of the finalists of the 2024 Sakharov Prize, Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun, that I have in my back. And I will start saying that this house is yours. The European Parliament is the house of the reconciliation between peoples, and you totally have your place here because you are working for reconciliation in Middle East. We have given to this conference the title, Peace is Possible, and today this sentence is revolutionary because never the two-state solution for two peoples living side by side has seemed so far away. In Israel, an extremist right party with people like Ben Gvir that promote the annexion of East Jerusalem, the annexion of Gaza, and military actions that violate international law, use the trauma of the October 7th attacks. In this context, with the divisions with Gaza, the West Bank, and the diaspora, we have thousands of dead people. Almost all of the schools were destroyed, and this war destroys the future and creates the perfect context for extremism. These people seem so far away one from each other, and there are so few voices that are trying to build bridges. And those who dare to sometimes cut themselves from their community to make a step to the others. And you have two beautiful examples of these voices in front of you. These voices that don't renounce to empathy, to what makes us human, who don't renounce to work for peace and diplomacy. After the failure of the Oslo agreements, we need new solutions, because the solutions won't come from the Israeli right, it won't come from Hamas, it won't come from those who want the simple disappearing of the others. We have to find other solutions, and we have found it to our guests. You already introduced Pascale Chen and Reem Alhajajra, who represent Women of the Sun and Women Wage Peace. Reem, you said this morning in press conference that you were the daughter of Nakba, that you grew up in a refugee camp in the West Bank, and that you decided to call your association Women of the Sun because the sun didn't come through in the refugee camp where you live. You said that you wanted women to be present on the political scene so that children wouldn't be hostages anymore from the politicians. And we wanted to strengthen you with this Sakharov Prize, and we will go well beyond to support you. There is also behind me Nava Hefet, rabbi, a female rabbi, peace activist and defender of rights for Palestinians and defender of peace. I also have behind me Huda Abu Akoub, peace activist, professor in the West Bank for a very long time, and is the representative of the Alliance for Middle East Peace that tries to find cooperative solutions. And finally, we have our two men, Maoz Zinon and Aziz Abu Sarah. Maoz is Israeli. Both his parents were killed by Hamas on October 7th. And despite this, he is brave enough, even if he doesn't like us to say it. He has the courage to use this suffering as a driver of his engagement, his commitment with his Palestinian friend, Aziz Abu Sarah, who lost his brother, killed by the Israeli army. And together they form a very powerful duo of activists for peace. And finally, there is my friend, Hannah Asulin, founder of peace warriors that gather women that want to talk about justice and peace. It's a woman of reconciliation who never gives up. To finish, I'd like to conclude saying that the destruction of the Israel-Palestine conflict is like a seism. It happens in your countries, but it divides all of our societies. It increases hatred, and we have all an interest in putting an end to it. And with you, I think a pathway towards peace is possible. Thank you very much. I will now give the floor to Reem and Pascale for a speech. Please come here, and please give them a big round of applause.
مالكم بتمطحوا فينا يلا أنا راح أحكي بالعربي.
I will be speaking in Arabic. Please put your headphones on.
أول شيء بحب
First of all, I would like to thank you. You are here to listen to us, to hear the true story from Israeli and Palestinian women. We are from the Israeli and Palestinian streets. You are hearing the story from a women's perspective, from the perspective of mothers. A mother who is suffering. Unfortunately, the media doesn't talk about our suffering as women or our role. We are basically marginalized from any peace or political process. They go into wars without our permission. No one consults with us. And then we are always the victims. Today, I refused to be a victim. I am here to raise my voice in front of the world. We thank the European Parliament for giving us this opportunity. It gave us the opportunity to become Sakharov Prize finalists. They have a very vital role in putting an end to the war against Gaza and the Palestinians in general. They have a role in providing humanitarian assistance to Palestinian people. They also have a role to play in urging leaders, Israelis and Palestinians, back to the negotiation table. I am Reem Alhajajra. I am a mother. I have 2 boys and 1 girl. I live in a refugee camp that was established after the Nakba of 1948. I am a granddaughter of the Nakba. This is how I consider myself. I live in very difficult conditions. Every day I think to myself, why am I living in a refugee camp? Why can't I be equal to my friend Pascale? We are living with Israelis on the same territory. As I said, and as you said, the 2-state solution seems to be very far away, but we can reach some sort of agreement to coexist and to put an end to this violent war. So I tried to find women who resemble us. Women Wage Peace are a movement made of women who have a similar cause. So we have a treaty now. This is how I like to call it. We don't accuse each other of things, and we don't look at our differences or at all that has been said for the past 75 years. We used a new language. We started talking about our suffering as mothers, me as a Palestinian mother and her as an Israeli mother, to reach peace. We don't care how the leaders find this, but we want to live in peace, in security. We want to have our freedoms, and we want to be part of the negotiations table one day, because wherever there are women, everything flourishes. No woman on this planet would like to see her kids die. This is what we agreed on. We want to stop the bloodshed. We want to urge the leaders to go back to the negotiations table, to include us on this table, and to apply the UN resolution number 1325. Again, my partnership with Women Wage Peace is a very important and a sacred partnership. Israeli women believe in equality with me. They believe that we should both be living a life of dignity with no bloodshed, kidnapping, and violence. We both want to talk here about all the human activists who died on both sides. 38 Palestinian women from the Women of the Sun died. The situation of women in Gaza is horrendous. They don't have their most basic needs. They don't enjoy security, health, education, all these rights. So from this podium, we would like to ask you to help us so that our voice can reach the highest number of people so that they can help us end this war. Thank you.
Je vais aussi m'exprimer en français.
So I'm going to use the occasion of being in the European Parliament to speak in my mother tongue. I want to thank the European Parliament, the MEPs, and the political groups who nominated us for this prize. We are finalists of this prize. We are very proud of it. It's a great honor. Thank you for having chosen us among many other organizations and other people who have the courage to fight for the freedom of thought in the whole world. It's a great honor for the women of Women Wage Peace, for Israeli women, and for our incredible partnership that we have in the field with Reem and Women of the Sun. I am Pascale Chen. I'm a French Israeli, and I'm living in Israel for 32 years. I lead a municipal care center for young children with developmental difficulties. I'm a volunteer at Women's Wage Peace. I'm a member of the management team and the international relationship, and I co-direct the team of 1325 Women Peace Security. When I chose to move to Israel, it was not a decision that was easy. And raise a family in Israel is an even more difficult decision because, as you know, for decades now, we are on a constant threat of wars, attacks, rockets, missiles, and now we are in war, the deadliest and the longest war since the creation of the Israeli state. Why did I choose to move? But I think that one of the most important one is the fact that I grew up in the memory of my uncle Amos, who fell on the battlefield during the Independence War. He was the oldest brother of my father, and I heard a lot about him, about the huge pain, the family trauma when he died. And my uncle left his family, his friends, and his country, Morocco, to fulfill his dream, to see the creation of the Israeli state. His dream was fulfilled, but he could not see it with his own eyes. I'm maybe the great granddaughter of this desire, because I decided to move to Israel. So I had this opportunity, this chance. Some would think that it is a terrible decision to come and move to Israel, but I'm optimistic, and I hope that history will prove me right. So I joined Women's Wage Peace when it was created 10 years ago. It was created in 2014 after the Protective Edge military operation in Gaza. At this same time, my oldest son just got enlisted for the military service. So on the national and on the familial level, I realized something, and this led me to decide and to become a peace activist. And since this moment, I am day and night at the service of Women's Wage Peace. I also realized that finally, if I wanted to have a better future for my two children, we needed to think about a solution that would be for the children of the whole region, and especially Palestinian children, because their destiny is linked to ours. And so we are reunited under the same struggle. And this struggle is clear. We want to live in peace, in security, for us and for the coming generations. So today, I have the great honor to express myself in the name of 1,000 of women. We have 45,000 members registered, so women who are registered to our organization, and they are doing grassroots activities in the whole country. Women from all of the Israeli communities, from Jewish women, atheists, women from the Arabic community, Palestinian with Israeli citizenship, Muslim, Christians, Druze, and we are present in the whole country, from Galilee to the desert of Negev. We had ups and downs in our movement, but in spite of the war, in spite of the 7th of October, we continue our struggle and we do not give up. For us, it is paramount that this activism has an impact and influence. And our goal is to lobby the Israeli government, because we are Israeli, so that they go back to the negotiation table and to promote a peace agreement with Palestinians, a diplomatic agreement that is fair, long-lasting, honorable, and that is accepted by both parties. It is also very important for us that women have a huge role in this peace process, that they are part of the negotiation table, not only because they represent half the population, but also because then this way they could represent the diverse needs of the population and their dreams and what they want. Since the 7th of October, we felt a horrible shock. We're now 1 year and 2 months after this terrible attack. That is still very traumatic for the Israeli society. We lost a lot of friends. A lot of peace activists died during this day. And among them, our friend, Vivian Silver. She was one of the co-founders of Women Wage Peace. She was our mentor. She was an admirable woman. And I think that today, being a finalist of the Sakharov Prize is in part thanks to her, and I want to pay tribute to her today with you.
La douleur.
So we overcame our pain, our anger, our huge sadness, and we went back to our activities with even more hope, because the darker the times are, the more we look for light, and that's what we are doing right now. And we have organized a huge event with Women of the Sun on the 4th of October. That was the greatest moment of our partnership. We started 3 years ago when Women of the Sun was created. We managed 1 year later to write our mother's call. I have a few excerpts of it in different languages I can give you. It's a sort of mission we have defined for our both our movements. It's a call from Israeli and Palestinian mothers calling our leaders to take their responsibilities, to go back to the negotiations and to put an end to this endless conflict. It also calls on the populations on both sides to join our call, and also women from the whole world, leaders from the whole world, to increase our message and support it. And it's an honor to be here today to call you to join our call and support us. We have several types of actions at Women Wage Peace, and we have continued it. just after the 7th of October, we have started the dialogue again. Reem has immediately asked for our news, and we have also continued our dialogue during the war and tried to support each other. Currently, Women Wage Peace demands the end of war to enable the release of the 100 hostages that are still kept in inhuman conditions in Gaza, among which 24 Europeans. We also ask the end of the war to put an end to the suffering of civilians in Gaza. So the civilian populations, among them many children, could finally enjoy a normal life, some dignity, the life any child in the world would deserve, any person in the world would deserve. And we want this population to receive all the care they would need. And we also want the war to end, because we want our leaders to have the opportunity to follow another pathway. I don't know how it could happen, but there are currently many changes in Middle East at the moment, so we have the obligation to keep some hope. And I think that now there are real opportunities that we have to seize, and we are here to demand from our government that it assumes its responsibilities and for the good of the whole region, with the national and regional alliance, with the support of Europe, the US, and other countries that would be ready to help us. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
And I have now the honor and the pleasure to moderate the panel, which is here on the podium with me. We have until 10 minutes past 6, because I also want to leave 15 minutes for an exchange with you. I'm thrilled that there are so many people with us. Thank you for coming. And there's also very many colleagues from at least 4 different political groups, from Italy, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, Romania, Spain. So very good that we are all together here. Without further ado, I'm going to further introduce to you the panel, but they were already a little bit introduced. Of course, we are here in honor of our nominees, and it has been said, I'm very proud that we could do this with 2 political groups, with the French and Dutch delegation from the S&D, with the Belgian delegation from the Renew group. And that also is a powerful message in itself, but the real heroes are, of course, our guests, our nominees, and our peace activists. I cannot stress that enough, because it's your courage and your resilience that inspires us. And the question that we want to answer today: is peace possible in Palestine and Israel? Well, if I look next to me, it is possible. Because if you still believe, after generations of sorrow, of loss of families and friends, that it is possible, then we can never give up. But let me first start with our friends Maoz and Aziz, because you have both. No, I was first going to give the floor to Hannah Assouline, because she assembled more or less also the panel. And one other thing before I forget, because of course this can also be an emotional topic, so I really want to call on everyone to be respectful, like our guests also are, but also to have compassion always with each other. But please, Hannah, maybe you can introduce the panel further.
Okay. Thank you so much. Do you hear me
Yes.
when I speak like that? Okay. I will also speak in French. Et je voudrais d'abord, avant de commencer...
And first, I'd like to thank you all for organizing this panel to give to give some place to these voices, and thank you very much to all of the people who came to hear them. I'd like to say a few words about the movement we are representing. We are here today to talk on behalf of our movement that is called the Peace Warriors. Some could see in it a contradiction. However, Camus wrote in 1945, peace is the only fight that is worth leading. Today, it's still the hardest, the most frustrating, and the most courageous choice. It's a choice that is both human and incredibly political, because peace is anything about neutrality. It's the only radical choice that keeps resisting to hatred, that refuses determinism. It affirms that the only future we can have is common, and that it requires the participation of everything, with justice, freedom, and independence for everyone. The Peace Warriors is a movement of women created in France in 2020 with Jewish and Muslim women defending peace and freedom. We now represent women from the whole world, and particularly members coming from Israel and Palestine, among which Huda Abu Akub and Nava Efet, who are here today. We work hand in hand with Palestinian and Israeli activists on both sides of this terrible war, who know how hard we have to work to put an end to this terrible event. Taking into account all of the history and the legitimacy, it's them who work every day to try to create political solutions to build a safe and free future for their children. They know in first hand that accepting the others is necessary to the survival of both sides. They know that all this will require a dialogue and negotiations, and it would be the only possible departure point to establish a common future. It's necessary because none of the Israeli or Palestinian people will disappear, because the security of the first depends on the freedom of the others, and because freedom and security has to be reivindicated for everyone, because otherwise it wouldn't be possible for anyone. Because any people on the planet has a right to independence and freedom. For all these reasons, with our organization, we want to carry their voices that are both courageous and pragmatic. These powerful voices you have the chance to hear today in the European Parliament, thanks to the support of Chloé Ridel, the MEP, who since the beginning has always been a precious ally in this fight for peace. They are partners, our partners, your partners. It's their voices we have to carry and give to everyone.
Merci, merci, chère Anna.
Thank you, dear Anna, and I will now continue with the others.
Maoz and Aziz, Maoz Inon and Aziz Abu Sarah, you both lost loved ones. Maoz, you lost your mother and father on the 7th of October. And Aziz, you have lost your brother. He died after many months in detention in an Israeli jail. How do you overcome resentment and anger to put that aside and to address your energy at the service of peace? Because I think that many people might not understand why you can set your possible feelings of revenge or whatever aside and instead put your energy towards peace. Maoz, will you start?
Yeah.
Please use the microphone.
And I will speak in English.
You don't want to try French?
Maybe next time. First, thanks you for organizing. Thanks for all the EU members, parliament members that are here. Thank you to the city of Strasbourg for hosting us. And you ask if peace is possible. When I walked the streets, I walked the streets of Strasbourg this morning, I could see the floods of blood that were flooding the streets and the river of Strasbourg only 80 years ago. 80 years ago. I could see it in my eyes, the blood that flooded Europe. Only 8 years ago. And now you are all here assembling here today as partners because you realized that in order to prevent the next war, you must make the enemy of the past into the partner of the future. And 3 nights after losing my parents, I had a dream. And in my dream, I could see each one of you. I could see the entire humanity crying with me. And our tears went down our face and then to our bodies, and I could see our bodies. And our bodies were wounded, burned, crushed from the war. And our tears washed our bodies and healed it. Cured our bodies. We were whole and healthy again. And we kept crying and crying, and then our tears went down to the ground. And then I could see that the entire land, from the river to the sea, was flooded with blood, like the streets of Strasbourg 8 years ago. And our tears went down to the ground and washed the blood and purified the land. And then on this beautiful land, I could see the path to peace and reconciliation. And in order to save myself, to cure myself, to heal myself, I have decided to choose this path. On this path, I met and made Aziz into my brother. I lost my parents, but I made so many Palestinians, brothers and sisters. And together we are here to share with you that peace is also possible between the river to the sea. And I was prepared by my parents for the October 7th. My parents prepared me to the moment of the death. My father was a farmer. He was sowing wheat in the fields of Israel for 60 years. And it doesn't matter how the year before was devastating because of floods, of drought, of insects. He will always share with me and my siblings that next year he will sow wheat again. Because next year will be better. But it's up to him to make it better. He needs to learn from his mistakes. He needs to consult with others. And he needs to do the best to make next year better. And this is what we are here doing, to make the next year better. And my mom was a very talented and creative artist. And 8 years ago, she gave me this mandala. I have one for each if you would like. And in the mandala she gave me 8 years ago, she painted, all our dreams can be fulfilled if we have the courage to chase them. And we are here to tell you that we, the Israeli-Palestinian peace movement, Palestinian-Israeli civil society, is courage enough, is brave enough, is committed enough to make peace from the river to the sea, to make this war the last war, to make the enemy of the past into the partners of the future. And we have 6 chapters, a roadmap of 6 chapters. We'll do it later. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, Aziz.
Thank you, Miles. But I have the task to also sometimes limit you a little bit. Please close your microphone, because Aziz, I also want to hear from you how you came over your anger, your sorrow, and turned that into the energy dedicated to peace. Aziz, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Maoz. And as Maoz said, we both lost family members and gained each other as brothers, and that is our relationship and our friendship. After Maoz's parents were killed, I reached out to him, and he reached out back. And it's very important because many people see it as Israelis versus Palestinians, and I think this is an example of how Israelis and Palestinians can be standing together, not on opposite sides. We are not divided by who's Israeli and who's Palestinian, who's Arab and who's Muslim, who's Jewish, but rather by those who stand on the side of equality, on the side of justice, on the side of reconciliation, and those who don't yet. And our work is about how do we get more and more people to go from don't yet to be with us. So what makes us overcome that anger? It's very simple, our experience. My brother was killed when I was 10 years old. I was not prepared like Maoz. I was shot at first time when I was 8 years old. I went through checkpoints. I went to school every day carrying an onion because of tear gas. So I was not prepared for growing up under occupation. But because of that anger, because of that pain, and because of the anger of what's happening today, whether it's what's going on in Gaza, whether it's what happened in Israel to Vivian Silver, who was a dear friend, to Maoz's family, to the hostages, to the Palestinians in Israeli prisons, all of these things makes us angry. And we continue to be angry, but we use that anger as a fuel. Anger, I was told by a friend a long time ago, anger is like a nuclear power. You can use it to destroy, or you can use it to make electricity. You can make power out of it. And so we have that pain. It's a very, very incredible power. We have that anger, and it's about how do we choose to use it. For 8 years after my brother was killed, I used it to spread hate. I was very devastated. And it took me 8 years when I met Israeli Jews for the first time who were on the same side of equality and dignity and recognition. And I realized that at that point, that every time I chose hate, I was being a slave to the person who killed my brother. And the moment you get to choose forgiveness, which is an incredibly hard path, but the moment you choose that, it's not because that person deserves it. The person who killed my brother does not deserve forgiveness, but it's because it's my choice and because it's my ability, it's my agency. Nobody makes my decisions for me, and I'm not going to be a slave to that person anymore. I will choose the values that I want to live by. And we have many, many friends in Israel, in Palestine. I have friends in Gaza who lost many family members as recently as the last couple of weeks, who still live by those values. And it's incredible to me that those voices are often not heard. When people talk about peace and peacemaking, when we bring people together to negotiate, those are the voices and the people who are missing from the table. So to the European Parliament, to members of Parliament here, please bring those kind of voices when you are talking about Israel and Palestine. Bring Palestinians from Gaza, bring Palestinians from the West Bank, bring Israelis like Maoz Inon, because those voices are rarely, rarely heard, whether it's in the media or whether by politicians, and definitely they are almost never heard of when we are talking about negotiations. You bring lawyers, you bring generals who fought in wars, and those are the worst people to make peace. Sorry if you are a lawyer, I apologize. If you are a general, not as much. But I think we have today a reality in the whole region that is very different, whether it's in Syria. I worked in conflict resolution in many countries, from Syria to Afghanistan, and we see the whole world erupting in sometimes hope, but a lot of conflict. What I can tell you from traveling to many of these places is that the EU have lost the global south. The trust in the EU has been lost, the trust of that part of the world to bring democracy, human rights. And there's so much work that is needed here. There's so much that's needed in Israel and Palestine. And the only way we can bring peace in the next 4 or 5 years, it's through us here all working together. Peace cannot happen by Palestinians and Israelis alone, and it will not happen by Europeans alone, and will not happen by Americans mediating everything. We all agree on that, but it's by all of us together. Thank you.
Thank you, Aziz.
ובסוף שכחתי את זה.
Thank you so much, and I hope you understand that it's really hard for me to interrupt these beautiful stories, but I have to, because I also have the fantastic Nava Hefetz and Huda Abu Akub here, and Nava, you are a rabbi, and you have lost friends on the 7th of October, and yet you keep advocating for rights for Israelis and Palestinians alike. And Huda, you have been involved from the start with Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun. And to both of you, I would like to ask what important role women have to play in this process, because I think that's overlooked. And in the previous event, Aziz also told us about that peace brokered with women has a much bigger chance to survive and for much longer. But maybe you can shine your light on what you think that your role in the process should be and how your actions from civil society should take into account better. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming and hearing us. Je vais parler aussi en français parce que je vois que
So I'm going to speak in French because I see that when you speak in French, less people are using their headsets. I have a dream, as said Martin Luther King. I dream that in not a long time we could invite you in the Parliament of the Middle East. This is my dream. A parliament like there is the European Parliament, but a Parliament of Middle East. And this would be called MEP. But what is going to be interesting in this parliament is that it will be 50-50. 50% women, 50% men. Because we are 52%. We're like offering you this 2%, so 50% and 50%. 50% is enough for us. I think that as a woman, we're giving life. So we understand what it means to take a life. We understand what it means to live with the pain, not only ours, but also the suffering of other people. And I say that as a woman. And this is why Huda and I talk. We can be peaceful. We have another vocabulary. We have another energy. We have another point of view that we can bring to the negotiations table. So I think that if we really had 50% and 50%, the fact that women would be at the negotiation table, this could change everything. And we have a more moderate ego. So we're ready to make concessions because human life is above everything. And I'm not a political leader. I am a rabbi. I think that, and it is a work that women have to do, is to renounce to Jewish exclusivity and to renounce to Arabo-Muslim Palestinian exclusivity in the region. This land is the property of two populations. These two populations have roots in this land. And I think that us, as women, I think that education in general is being made by women. And it is our responsibility to educate the coming generation in a way that there will be less exclusive and in a military point of view. And I talk about my society, my community in Israel. I have two sons. The youngest one lives in France. He is the commissar of the Israeli state. I refuse that he went to fight in Lebanon. And I think it's our responsibility as women to say, enough is enough. We're not giving our children for war. We're ready to give our children for life, for reconciliation, for healing, to heal. To heal. And these concepts can lead to peace. It is a question of education. It is our responsibility to educate the next generation for peace and not for war. And I call on my friends now fighting a war, maybe for the fourth time, to stop, to say no, we're not fighting anymore. We want to work towards peace. We want to work for a new peace, for a parliament, a Middle East parliament, with 50%, 50%. And I have the risk of being arrested for saying that. And I can assure you, if women are in the leadership position, the situation is going to be different. Thank you very much.
Très bien, cher Nava. Et maintenant, je donne la parole.
Thank you, Nava. And now I'm giving the floor to Uda Abouakoub with the same question.
So I'll start by selecting. It's actually the strategy that the Palestinians adopted since 1993. They were the ones who sat on the table, made the biggest compromise. I am personally part of the generation that was part of the first Palestinian non-violent intifada. And we brought Abu Ammar with Oslo. And we sent the Israeli army with flowers and roses and olive wreaths. So we chose peace as a strategy for survival, for liberation, for a state. 1995, Rabin was killed in Tel Aviv. And the people who killed him are the ones who are ruling Israel now. And the same thing happened on the Palestinian side. Peace became part of losing rather than gaining. And so it's not a convincing argument to get the Palestinians to the table saying that after 25 years of Oslo, you will gain a state, because reality on the ground tells us every day that there is no way that there will be a viable Palestinian state. Should we give up? No. How can we go about it? We learn from the people in Gaza. Women in Gaza, I am a woman, and I cannot sit in this place and not recognize the fact that women in Gaza are teaching me every day how to be a resilient woman, how I can embrace my children, who I still have, who I didn't choose Hamas in order to kill Israelis and be collectively punished. October 7 happened against the will of all the Palestinians, but no one treated the Palestinians as not guilty of October 7. And this goes also for the international community. If the Palestinians have an extended hand to them, when they elected Hamas back in 2006, instead of being collectively punished and boycotted by the international community because, democratically speaking, they chose Hamas, who wanted to play politics, we wouldn't have been in this place. Hamas would have been compromised as a militant group and would have played politics. But we chose to boycott and put Gaza 17 years in siege. Hamas did something terrible on October 7, does not represent me as a woman, does not represent my just cause as a Palestinian woman who's fighting for her freedom and liberation, does not represent me as a Muslim woman who believes in values that brings life against any other thing. Life is more important than the Kaaba or Jerusalem in our faith. But we left the place vacuum, empty, for the more organized groups, the more ideology-driven groups, both in Palestine and Israel and in the world, and the more funded than peace builders in the world, to rule. They responded to the needs of the people, and so they gained power. And that's how we need to combat them, rather than otherize them or boycott them. The only way to bring peace is to bring everyone to the table. And as long as there is one person who is not on the table and is not feeling that peace is going to give them gains, they will spoil it. And we know the region. There are spoilers in the region, and there are people who are willing to ruin any solution tomorrow. There is no lack of solutions. There is now the Arab Initiative. Saudi Arabia is leading a whole regional conversation about it. How much are the Palestinians involved in that conversation? How much are the Israelis involved in that conversation? How many women and peace builders are involved in that conversation? They are excluded. Are we going to be the spoilers? No, I promise you we will not. We will work with any system that would give us peace. Who doesn't want peace? The woman who is living in a tent in Gaza with bombs on her head every minute, wants peace more than me, who lives in Hebron, that lives in a prison. The situation in the West Bank is worse than any time before. And we're watching this happening. The collective punishment of the Palestinians is going only to produce more and more generations who lost trust in peace, trust in and faith in the international community, trust and faith in justice. Why does security is so important for the Israelis? Because they have a state, but the Palestinians don't deserve security? Do we deserve security as much as the Israelis deserve security? If I can denounce Hamas's practices under my name, can we all denounce Israel's government, this fascist government, doing collective punishment, killing 60,000 people? We are left with 20,000 children who are going, I guarantee to you, if we don't do anything now, they will be the next recruit of the more organized, the more well-funded, the more ideology-driven. Are we ready to leave that space? So what's the solution? Inclusivity is the solution. Using leverage and accountability by the diplomats all over the world, political entities. You cannot punish the Palestinians and not punish the Israeli government. You cannot accept a collective punishment to be brought on the Palestinians. Complete disaster in Gaza. There is no day after in Gaza. We cannot even talk about a day after in Gaza. There are realities created on the ground that no law in the world is stopping them. How can I convince a Palestinian woman that peace supported by the international community is possible? I can if we all treat Palestinians and Israelis equally, even when it comes to peace and justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Huda. And again, it pains me to be the one who tries to watch also the clock. But fortunately, you all also already kind of answered the question what you expect from the European institutions, what more you expect from the European Parliament. So I promised to give also the floor to the audience. I'm sure there are a couple of questions there. So who wants to ask something to any of the panelists? I see you, sir. Yes, please. I take 3 questions. You first. Oui, oui.
I have a solution for peace.
נצא אל הבוסתן, מור בסמים ולבונה. C'est la chanson. Alors.
Just one point. We are in Europe, and Europe has shown its hatred for foreigners. Here, there was a pact on immigration just here that is terrible. It's the kind of Europe we cannot count on for the moment. How can we find the energy to change the policies? I understood that it would come through a 50-50% situation, but how could we have allies in Europe while Europe is falling in the hands of the far right, and that it is the third party in this house? I am a Jewish Arab from Morocco. I was born Jewish, and I converted to the to medicine. So I could welcome unconditionally all of Europe's misery that is carried by Muslims. It's on their shoulders that is weighing the weight of the liberal policies. Thank you, it was very important. Other question? And then you.
Kunz, I'm coordinating a new organization called the European Jews for Palestine. And I would like to ask the panelists, how do you see the role of international law in the future peaceful solution that you talk about? And especially in particular, how do you see this House position, for instance, on the arrest warrants to the war criminals, apparently, the Prime Minister of Israel, the Minister of Defense of the State of Israel, and the Mohammed Deif, who is probably not among the living. Yes, that's I mentioned that.
Can you specify who you want to ask the question?
So, in your path that Maoz was talking about, and this path towards peace and reconciliation and justice, how do you see the role of the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court in The Hague? Are there helpful players in your courageous and important mission?
You want to ask the question to Maus?
Not necessarily.
Can you choose someone? Because
I choose Reem then.
Okay, good.
Tfadali.
And then the third question, please, sir.
Bonjour, je représente l'UNICEF.
I am a representative of UNICEF here in Alsace. And my question is, how could education be used to lead lead children to participate to the peace process?
Of international law, in particular the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. Reem.
Your question is difficult. It's not easy for me to answer. But I would like to tell you just one thing. Please wear your headsets first. So I was saying that the question is difficult. It is not easy for me to respond like you expect. I will answer it like I want. So if you think that you need to go to the International Criminal Court to solve the problem between Palestine and Israel, you could, as an individual in this world who is seeking peace, but it is not a solution, because politics will not convict the criminal here. We need everyone who is supporting peace in our societies, everyone. And peace comes from the grassroots. We don't care about the leadership. We care about the people. Are they leading the life that they need, that they want, or not? For us, it is enough that the people live peacefully, freely, safely around those same values. Peace is very difficult. War is very easy to make. Peace, again, is very difficult, but it is possible with the help of everyone.
Sure. I think education is extremely important because Israeli and Palestinian youth, I worked for many, many years in that field, and Israeli and Palestinian youth have zero almost chance to meet somebody from the other side. And our education systems are extremely segregated. Trying to bring even change to that system is next to impossible. There are a handful of schools that allow Israelis and Palestinians to work together, like hand in hand, amazing program, but majority of children don't have that. what we've been working on is through an organization we launched called Interact International, is creating a dual narrative education center. And what we're doing through the dual narrative education center is allowing it, one, to be online, so you don't have to go to schools because that's going to be very difficult. But allowing it to be online and allowing students to hear what are the tropes, what are the different narratives, what are the different stories that they never hear on the other side. And I think that is something terribly needed, not only for Israeli and Palestinian youth, by the way, it's terribly needed also here. It's terribly, we also need to learn to disagree with each other much better. Not everyone on this table, I think, agree on every issue. It's very important. I don't care if we end up with 2 states, 3 states, 1 state, as long as equality is guaranteed, dignity is guaranteed. I might even disagree a little with Reem and think, I like to see all of our leaders at The Hague. I don't like any of them, not Palestinian, not Israeli. And it's okay, we can disagree and be friends. But to have the ability to disagree, not just be friends, disagree and be able to work together for a bigger cause, for a bigger goal, is through understanding first where you stand and where I stand so we can have that conversation. And that's definitely missing, but it's something we are working on quite a lot right now.
Very briefly, what we are trying to do now with the Guerrière de la Paix and other business persons, we are trying to build 3 schools, green schools, one in Dura, one in Huara, near Huara, and one in Gaza, when it will be possible. And the whole curriculum will be, right now we cannot do it because of the Palestinian Authority, because they control all the content of the curriculum. But so we start with something with arts, and through arts, through music, through theater, we can educate the next generation to something better. Of course, if the situation on the ground is such as that you have closures, and you have soldiers, and you have outposts, and you have settlements that are harassing the population all the time, it is very difficult to educate the next generation towards peace, okay? Because it's a dissonance, it's a cognitive dissonance. But we don't have the privilege to raise our hands and to give up. We have to continue and to build curriculum that will enable peace, studies for peace.
Yes, merci. Yes, because I'm just, you get the floor. 6:30, but no worries, because I unfortunately have to excuse my 2 colleagues, our 2 colleagues, Hilde Woutmans and Raphael Glucksmann, because they have other obligations. So we have a little bit more time, because Maos, you wanted to say something first, and then maybe also you, and maybe also Pascale wants to say a last final word before I do a short wrap-up. Maos.
Yeah, okay, thanks. What we also came here to say is that we don't need your thoughts, we don't need your prayers, and we don't need you to cross our finger for us. We need your action. We need your action, and the first action is to sow hope. Hope is an action that we make together by envisioning a better future and by acting to make it into reality. And I want to give you 6 actions that are possible to do, and these are the chapters, the headlines of our roadmap, the 6th chapter roadmap. The first chapter is to dream. Dream is also an action. We must dream of a better future. And then we must amplify this dream. Every platform, every way, with friends, with colleagues, on your social media, with your communities, in the parliament. Okay, to amplify the dream. We need to build legitimacy to us, the peacemakers, and to legitimacy to peace. We must build this legitimacy. We must form a coalition. To form a coalition, European partners, Palestinian partners, Israeli partners, to form a very strong and powerful coalition. We must change the policy, the world policy that is sending our region tools of destruction. We need to change it and to send us tools of construction, tools of reconciliation, tools of shared society and shared life. And the last chapter is to create a political will. We are not politicians. We need your support, your guidance, how to create a political will with the Palestinian and Israeli societies that will sign peace. So if we'll follow those 6 chapters, those 6 actions, we are going to harvest peace by 2030. It can happen much, much faster, but we cannot have it later than 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Maoz. One final comment from Huda, and then from Pascale, and then
we don't take lightly what you guys are doing. Just the mere fact that you are not giving up on us and you're showing up tonight is a huge boost of hope that I'll take back home and tell the people who are on the ground that there are people who truly care. How can we translate that into policy? This is the real game. And when we talk about realpolitik, we need to make sure that we have enough leverage in order to open doors to voices that are not normally heard. You hear the politicians all the time, and I am sorry for that, because this is not where the solution lies. But also politicians are the ones who make the decisions. And in order for us to get to them, we need to do this more often. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the ones who recognized Palestine. Thank you, the ones who gave money to civil society in Palestine and Israel. Thank you to those who invited us to be here tonight. This is a huge stage for us, but also recognize the fact that we are carrying many voices on our shoulders, and we're giving these voices to you, and we're hoping that we will take back with us some solutions for the people who are truly struggling for their lives. Appreciate it. Merci. Thank you. Shukran, till the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Huda. Pascale, une commande finale. Le microphone. Oui.
Donc, pour finir, évidemment.
To conclude, we will talk about hope, because this is why we are here. With Reem from Israel and Palestine, we also want to give you some hope, you Europeans who came to hear us. We have seen several times in history, very dark times, that we overcame. We have built a better life. And I'd like to talk about 2 events that could have seemed impossible. 4 years after the Yom Kippur War, a peace treaty was signed. It is still current. In 2020, the Abraham agreements were signed between Israel and 4 Arab states, despite the terrible war that has been lasting for a year and 2 months. These agreements are still in force. So this gives me a lot of hope, and our strength is key. I think that women are a driver for peace, and I'd like to give you some hope and thank you, because arriving finalists of the Sakharov Prize gives us a huge strength. It enables us to keep believing in our cause and to keep working together with Reem, and I think for many years again, and even if we don't reach peace, we will still be collaborating.
Thank you so much. It's but no 1 minute. A last word is.
It's it is 1 minute. You know, Palestinians lost a lot of things. We can get 1 minute.
Aziz, go.
No, I was gonna say, we know how much division there is in Europe. We know how much hate today spread using our own pain and our own suffering. Hate toward Muslims, hate toward Jews, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. And I've been doing a lot of those kind of meetings of training people on that. And I think every community, every group really needs to take time and learn about that kind of hate and how to counter it also here because through that, you can also help us. So I hope I can leave you with that word and the importance of working together to counter that kind of hate that affects Muslims, Palestinians, but also anti-Palestinian bias and Jews in Europe. So thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic, Aziz. Very good. And because now the clock... Now the clock is saying 6:31. That's why they asked the Dutch MEP to chair it. But I want to thank everyone deeply for coming tonight. I think it was a huge tribute also to the people here behind the table. I think we learned also. I think we all learned a lot also tonight. And I think I'm not going to repeat what I've learned. We all take the lessons home with us and we take the homework with us. But I think what stands above everything is that you with your passion, your energy, your will to show courage over conceding, to show love over hatred, that is our inspiration. That will keep us going. One final point. You are all invited to have a drink and to also talk again a little bit with each other in room C21. C2.1.
Okay. Just pour ceux que ça intéresse.
For the people interested, at 7:45 there will be a projection of a documentary called Resist for Peace, where you will see many activists that were here today on the field. If you want to come, it's in Cosmos at 7:40. Thank you very much.